Jake's in here.
Oh, go ahead.
Would you guys settle down? Find Jake. All right, freeze. Where's the cocaine?
What cocaine? This is cocaine from my candy baby.
You put cocaine in your candy?
I meant this is sugar from my candy baby.
Candy, sugar, that makes more sense, guys. Well, we're gonna have to confiscate that sugar. Ow! As you can see, that was not one of our finer moments. My name's Jake, and I've been working on this team for 10 years now. We chase down drug dealers, extreme criminals on the 10 most wanted FBI list. That guy you saw? Yeah. We figure he was one of Jake Roscoe's men. Probably running some drugs. Colombian cartel. We've been after him for a long time. Our next big assignment is him. We've been stuck in the shed for 6 months. Boss says we can't leave till we catch him. So, we're pretty determined.
Twisting swiftly, I turn around and calling up on strength I didn't have. I take the reins again, I lose my doubts. For a while it all flows. Let the wave come, let anxiety fall. Let the people hear my call. The mess behind me is where it stays, hiding from beautiful autumnal glow.
Jake and I, we have a long story. It started in 7th grade. That's when the schools merged, and that's when I met him. We had a class together. He was not like anybody I had met before. He was kind of nerdy. He wore sweater vests and had giant glasses. He was so funny though. He was always cracking jokes. He was always had something funny to say, and he was so much fun to be around. And I guess I just liked his humor, and so I had a crush on him.
Oh yeah, Mr. Start muffin / unwind, you stupid. Not yet! Wait for that! Oh, bad boy. Didn't expect you home so soon.
My son Jacob is compassionate and kind. He has a heart for other people. He's funny and sarcastic. He has deep empathy for people who hurt.
Eventually, we finally got our acts together, and he, out of the blue, asked me out on a date my junior year of college, and we started dating. It turned into something pretty serious. We ended up dating for a year and 7 months.
He's kind. And he's caring.
He was the life of the party. He was always fun to be around. We were always doing things with friends. He was really generous. If we were going out to dinner and somebody didn't have money, he was the first one to say, well, I'll pay your way, no big deal. Just giving, great person. So much fun to be around. I don't know, he was really sweet to me. He was like a Prince Charming. I felt like a princess when I was around him, and it was...
Jacob started to have anxiety issues probably from 5th grade. And in high school, Jake went through a really bad time, and we ended up in family counseling and trying to help him through some of those issues of self-esteem. And he really didn't feel like he fit in or he had friends, never felt like he belonged.
Give it to me. Give
Hey,
me.
you're the one. Listen, you guys, quit fighting over it. This is
You're the
stupid.
one that-
There's nothing out there. This fire's going on. I think we're lost. Come on.
No, we're not lost. Calm down.
What? What? Dude, it's just that. Hey, leave it. Jacob.
Early on, I thought I was smothering him because I would want him to come over, and he would say, sure. And then He just would not show up, and he wouldn't call, and he wouldn't answer any of the phone calls. He just would disappear for days at a time. Then his dad died, and that really messed him up. He was disappearing after that more than he ever had.
Nigel was an extremely strong character and felt that if there was a problem that he couldn't take care of, then there wasn't an answer to the problem. And Nigel's way of loving us and caring for us was to take care of us. So Nigel took care. When Jake said he was out of money, Nigel gave him money. When Jake said he needed something, Nigel gave it to him. Very much to Jacob's detriment. He loved him beyond thought. When he died, it sent Jacob into an incredible spiral. I remember the first time he stole money from my credit card, and I realized it was him. It was just, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. And
it'd be like 2 days later. Where were you? You were supposed to come over Thursday night. Oh, well, something came up.
Things would come up missing. Things would go missing, and he would have very plausible reasons for it, or it wasn't him, or he never did it, or he didn't have any clue.
I know he had problems with pills at the beginning of college, but everyone had told me it was gone. So I just thought he was really depressed from his dad. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of June, Catherine shows up at my house to tell me that Jake's been checked into rehab for drug addiction. And my mind instantly went to pills. I just figured that he had fallen back into pills. Pills I could have worked with. Pills I could have tolerated, and we could have worked through it. But just a couple days later, I was over at Catherine's house, and everybody was talking about how they were praying for him to get better and over the addiction to heroin.
On February 6th of 2009, I lost my dad to a massive stroke. It devastated me and my family. My life quickly spiraled out of control. I left the hospital, and I had his clothes in a bag that the hospital sent home. I took his credit card and withdrew $500 from the ATM at the gas station. I immediately went and bought 3 grams of heroin. The Center for Disease Control says that a half of a gram of heroin will kill an average human. That night I did 3 grams. I woke up the next morning extremely disappointed I was still alive. And that was the first time I tried to kill myself.
As you can see, that was not one of our finer moments. My name is Jake.
My name is Jake, and today I have 6 months, 1 day, 11 hours, and 12 minutes clean.
When I first found out about Jake's addiction, everybody said it started because of Nigel's death, and that was kind of the catalyst. But when you look back, it didn't start there.
I started using drugs in early 2002. I was a freshman in high school. My very first drug was Vicodin. I was prescribed them by a doctor for an ankle surgery. I took them as prescribed for the first 30. After the first 30 were gone, I was introduced by a friend that you could snort Vicodin. The reason I did that, it hits your body quicker. I conned my therapist into giving me a prescription of Xanax. I told her I had panic attacks and anxiety, which I did, but it was caused by the drug abuse. I graduated high school with a near perfect GPA, high ranked in my class. I had no problem getting into college. I moved into an apartment out of the fear of living with someone I didn't know, because my drug habits had to stay a secret above all else. So I got an apartment with a couple, 3 friends of mine who used drugs. That became everything. All we did, every day, all day, find, do, and talk about drugs. What's up? I'm Jake.
This is Jake.
I want to be on the real world. No, I don't.
Jake does cocaine.
Derek, I dare.
Say that shit on the camera.
Nobody's gonna watch it.
That's awesome, boy. No. If I put it in your hand, you just swallow it.
Because I want some coke and you want some Adderall. So we're gonna make a trade. Coke and Adderall. We're gonna make a trade. I don't know if I'm on camera right now, but we're gonna make a trade.
Semester, I got put on academic probation. I started that second semester resentful of that academic probation. Because as an addict, you always feel that you're smarter than everybody else. You're always pulling one over on everybody. Because nobody knows you're an addict, so you must be doing something right. So I spent about a month in school that second semester and then stopped going completely and never told anybody. I took the loan money and bought drugs and sold them to buy more drugs. And that's how I supported myself for a while. I eventually, of course, dropped out and was kicked out of the second university. To please my parents, I joined a community college and faked going to classes for almost a year while secretly I was using the money to buy more drugs. At this point, I was completely chemically dependent and needed drugs, opiates specifically, every day. I was stealing from my parents, from my loved ones, pawning everything I owned, overdrafting bank accounts, selling drugs selling one drug to buy another, forging my prescriptions. I had 6 months prescription within 2 months at one point, selling all of those Xanax to buy more Oxycontin and morphine. I also had my parents giving me an allowance so that I could afford gas and anything else I needed to go to school, but I wasn't doing any of that. I spent all day, every day, looking or doing drugs. That was my whole life. I had nothing else. Boss, you want to see me?
Yeah.
What's this about?
Well, I've heard you've been laundering some of our money.
What? What do you mean?
Well, you know, we steal cars, and I've heard you've been selling them, some of them that you've stolen. I don't want any business losses, so you'll have to leave the business.
Fine.
Take your personal belongings and be out of here. I'll just leave no. What's that?
Oh, these? These are just my personal belongings. None of your business.
Libby's laptop, $3,000. His laptop, $2,000. An old laptop that parts. Zune was $350. Snowblower that was worth $3,000. Chainsaw that was worth $1,000. My credit card. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars in cash. And that's what I know about. Therapists, going to the psychiatrist, I've put it all that I know of around $20,000 to $25,000. And that doesn't include flunking out of 3 schools and all those credits he lost.
And most of the time, all that I can remember from Jake is the mistrust. The many, many times that he just looked me straight in the eye, had no trouble telling me whatever lie he needed to get by through that moment. And if he needed another lie to cover that one up, he'd come up with it real fast.
Hey, this is
Follow me.
Hang on.
I thought the one there was gonna follow me. What if you guys break it while you know you have to stay on your knees when you fight?
I hate to say it, but your boyfriend might get hurt.
I don't want him to.
I don't either, cause
I kind of like him.
he's okay.
No, I like him.
I mean,
he pissed me off earlier tonight, but outside of that...
he shouldn't have picked a fight with me, that's for sure.
No.
Did you see the way he attacked me?
I saw that, it's getting funny.
Well, we're just kind of talking.
Like,
is it recording?
Oh, it sure is.
It's got a red button on it. A red light.
That was Casey.
I wonder who edits this if it's not Casey.
He was a lying son of a bitch. It is Casey.
It is
Casey lies so much.
I know. That's a terrible habit to get into. Does Jake lie a lot too? Should I be warned of this? Like, I know
I don't know if we should have this conversation on film.
Like I know.
I don't know if we should have this conversation on film.
He tells me that he's sarcastic a lot, but that's different from lying, I think.
I don't know
kind
if
of
we should
worried
have
about
this
this.
conversation
Let's
on
not
film.
have this on film. Let's talk about something else.
Truth is an incredible word. It's a word that, when it comes to Jacob, we had no truth for a very long time, for many years. He was a master at having answers and manipulating us. He was a master at conning us.
But it was so believable. Maybe I'm just gullible.
Obviously, one of the most important things in a drug addict's life is to keep the entire addiction a secret. But how does a heroin addict do that when they're covered with track marks? I wore long sleeves. 95-degree day, I didn't care. I was wearing long sleeves. I lied to everyone around me, claiming that I had a medical problem that required me to get blood transfusions. That's how sick and demented an addict becomes, that you could tell your loved ones that you're actually sick with something so serious just to cover up your lies. The lies become almost as important as the drugs, because you have to maintain the lies to maintain your drugs.
When I look back now, it's ridiculous that I didn't get that, because every possible cliche sign was there. Every possible sign. But when they're your family member and they're your child, you believe them. You just believe them. One of the hardest things I remember is being in the driveway late at night, when we felt like things were just out of control and we didn't know what to do. And Nigel literally putting his fists up in the air and screaming, what do we do? What do we do? And watching him feel like he was failing as a father, because we just didn't know. We were so naive and we just didn't know.
I'm never going to be able to trust anybody again. I don't even know if I can love again. I don't know what it's going to be like in my next relationship. Heaven help the next man.
I'm not scared of you. I wish that whoever was listening at the door would go to hell. And I think that letting Sarah drink this early on was a bad idea. She might be just a little bit drunk, just a little bit fast.
You better not talk about me to that video camera.
Turns out it's Sarah drink outside the door
Jacob!
listening. I'm not worried. Not at all. Because I am Jacob motherfucker. And Jacob motherfucking Parker doesn't fuck around. Ever. I have been without heroin for almost 20 hours. I was throwing up in the bathroom, covered in sweat, cold chills, and yet burning up with a fever. Because when you're dope sick, you feel like you're dying. You wish death. Going without opiates, bones feel hollow, joints ache, muscles are constantly tense, constantly grinding your teeth and gritting your jaw. Your brain spins, your body's hot, your stomach turns. It's worse than the flu. I wouldn't wish it on my very worst enemy. It's the worst thing I've ever experienced. And I experienced it every day. So every day, the obsession took over, and I had to get a fix.
There was very little truth, ever, until one day in June, when on the grass in the front yard, he sat down and with tears running down his face said, "Mom, I'm done."
I managed to steal $40 from a friend that was at the house visiting my mom from her purse. I went to go get in my car. My car wouldn't start. The battery was dead. So I went to go get in the truck, and the truck was dead. I don't know if it was some sign from God or some divine power stopping me. But all of a sudden, enough was enough. I'm sitting in my car, sobbing my eyes out, wishing to God my dad was still alive, wishing to God that I was dead. I crawled into the grass in the front yard and broke down. I don't know how long I laid there until my mom came out. She sat down on the grass, and I told her everything.
I've been doing drugs for a long time, and I have drug dealers after me, and they're threatening to kill you if I don't pay them the money I owe them, and I want out, and I don't know how to get out. Will you please help me?
Addiction is a disease. Drug use is a symptom of your disease. A disease is such a mental obsession that if you put a drug in front of someone and put a gun to their head, someone without a disease would not even think about doing that drug. But if my drug was in front of me, you know what would run through my head? Maybe the gun's not loaded. Maybe it'll misfire. He won't really do it. Yeah, even if he does, I'll get one last hit. I'll be high one last time. Hopefully I can just get it in me fast enough before he blows my brains out. Because that's what really matters. Getting high.
Jake went to rehab and then he came back. And when he came back, he was clean for 30 days and then he relapsed. And he did something called a front, where they brought the drugs to him, but he didn't pay for them, and then he had to pay for them. And he ran up about $1,500 to $2,000 in about a week. Also, an old drug dealer was put in prison, and so the money that that drug dealer owed a bigger drug dealer, they came back to Jacob to get.
Sis, this is Carlos. What's next, sis? Sis! I got it. You see, Carlos. It took me a long time to move up in this world. It's very dangerous. I wasn't always such a cool person. People like you, and people like his boss, stopped paying me what they owed me. But that's over now. 2 days! 2 days! They told me I had 2 days to bring them $2,000, or they were going to kill me. I was so desperate and scared, I stole my mother's wedding rings, my father's wedding ring, jewelry from my sister. I pawned things that had deep sentimental value to my mother in a time where she was still grieving the loss of her husband of 27 years. This time not to be high, but to save my life and theirs, I thought.
Then it became apparent that he owed someone here in Anderson money.
This time they put a gun to my head. That was the second time someone's put a gun in my face. I was terrified.
And I could tell you their address, their names, because we went there about 7 times. We drove to the drug dealer's house. We waited while Jacob got out, while he went in. The least amount of time it ever was 30 minutes. It was usually an hour while they made him wait, patted down, wait his turn, whatever. For my mom and I, as we would wait, it was hell. We would sit and just pray because we didn't know if he would come out alive or not. We didn't know what they'd do to him. They thought something was really weird because why would this old lady and this mom come every day to pay a drug dealer? Well, we came because we were afraid. So we just kept paying until finally we knew that Jake had to get out of town.
Kill them. My jacket's in the basement. Burn it. Take the drugs to my car and bring me my other coat. We gotta go. Do I think they really would have killed me? I don't know. Probably not.
We were afraid to be here at the house. We didn't know if the drug dealers would come here. And I'm a single woman alone. I didn't want to be here. And the house has been empty now for about 5 months. And I moved in with my mom. And my daughter moved in with friends. Jake has a sister who's going to be 20 in a couple of weeks. And Libby's had to watch her parents deal with this dysfunctional son all of her life. Really, all of her life. Along with that and Jacob's bullying of her, people who are bully. It was her he bullied. She has some major issues because she doesn't trust men. Her dad didn't protect her from him. She has been telling us for years, Jake's doing drugs, Mom. I'm telling you, Jake's doing drugs. I know he's doing drugs. But she didn't have any facts to back it up. When he stole so much from us, and he stole her laptop that had the pictures of her dad on it, and all the papers that she'd written in college, all of her pictures of a missions trip, everything that meant anything to her like that were on that computer, and he sold it. And we were at the house, the detective was there, and it was going to be my decision. Do we have him arrested? And everything I'd learned from Fairbanks, everything I've learned about drug addiction, is the last thing you ever want them to do is go to jail, because people say, well, jail's the best thing that ever happened. It's never, ever, ever the best thing that ever happened. Ever. I was literally in the fetal position, laying on a bed at my mom's house with a pastor sitting next to me holding my hand, and I'm sobbing, saying, I can't do it, I can't do it. And Libby is screaming at me, you have to do it. If you love me, you have to do it. You have to send him to jail. And I couldn't. And for her, that was the final betrayal, that I loved him more than her, and that I chose him over her. And her words were, you could have chosen to give us a safe family. My heart will forever break, because as a mom, there was no right answer. It was betraying one or the other of them. And at the time, it was choosing which is the most critically ill child. And I chose to save him. Out on that desk is a box of Kleenex. And if you would get it, that would probably be good. In the kitchen there on the left. Right there. Sorry.
That's okay.
You can edit that, right? Thanks, Casey. You know, my mom said, this will make you laugh, I hope. She said, you tell them if they say anything bad about my Jacob, I will kick their ass. And she's 73 years old. That was kind of funny. I'm sorry.
Casey. Take two.
I don't want that in there. Take that out. I don't want to say that. Rewind that.
That's fine.
Okay?
No, I don't like that. I don't like saying I loved it. Don't put that in there. My love for Sarah was completely separate from my need from heroin. I genuinely loved Sarah, but yet, if she had a ways and means for me to stay high, then that took over everything.
I loved him. I loved him with everything I had inside me. There's part of me that still loves him. Always will. He was everything to me. But did he really love me? I don't know. He did nice things for me sometimes. He'd do something nice. I mean, he bought me flowers once, just because I'd had a bad day. I don't know if that means you love somebody. There's a lot of times that I felt like he was just putting up with me. But I mean, those little gestures whenever he could do something, like buy me flowers. Think realistically, that was him sacrificing getting a hit that day. The money that was gonna go to heroin instead went to buying me flowers. How much more sacrificial can you be? But at the same time, was it just keeping up the charade? Was it just keeping it going so that I believed?
I mean, sorry doesn't even mean anything anymore.
When I try to think about him loving me, I just keep going back to all the ways that he hurt me. The nights that I sat by myself, waiting for him to call. The fact that he stole money from me. If he did, he definitely loved heroin more. I was never his top priority. I was never even in the top 5. There's always something more important.
You're probably the only reason that I didn't spiral so far out of control that there was no coming back. I thought going to rehab was the only way to save our relationship. I was wrong, but that's okay. Because at least I didn't take you down with me this time, like I have everyone else that was ever in my life. Because I did love you. I do love you.
No. I don't think he loved me. I don't think he did.
People always say, how's Jake doing? The answer to that question is that you never, ever recover from drug addiction. It can go into remission, but you never recover. You are always an addict.
Twisting swiftly, I turn around and calling up on strength I didn't have.
So how is Jake doing? He's been clean for 6 months.
That's the longest I've ever been clean since I started using drugs. Almost 8 years ago.
He lives independently. He has a job now.
I almost completely support myself now, which is something I've never done at 23 years old.
He is not financially independent. I still pay about half of his living expenses, which is about $900 a month.
My mother trusts me.
And the truth's not all out there yet. It's still coming. Because every time he has to come to grips with some sort of ugly truth, that's really painful. And to come to grips with the fact that you've stolen, lied, manipulated. I will never forget the doctor who actually was the one who really helped us, saying to a group of 5 addicts, is there any of you who haven't stole jewelry from your grandmother? And not one of them could say they hadn't, because they will do whatever they have to do. And my mom was sure he would never, ever steal anything for her. And of course he did. Of course he did.
You ready?
Yes.
Is Jake ever going to get better? God only knows.
My hope is that Jake could stay in remission for the rest of his life. That is highly unlikely. So you live in fear, always, of what will trigger another bout. And just pray.
To my mom, thank you. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for having faith that there was still a good person somewhere inside of me. Thank you for forgiving and giving me another chance. I won't say a second chance because I had 1,000, but you gave me another one. I hope to make you proud. I hope to make my dad proud one day. That's one of my biggest regrets. Why I didn't get clean while he was alive. Because that's what kills me. Say he died thinking his son was an addict.
could ask Jake anything, if I could just talk to him for a minute, I'd tell him to stop lying. I'd tell him to be real, to be himself. I'd tell him that he's a great person underneath. He has moments when he's wonderful. I know it's hard to believe that, and I don't even believe it myself most of the time, but he can be really great. I just wish I could get through to him that that's the Jake he should be. Not the heroin addict. He should go back to the 7th grade Jake that I met. Be that person.
It's about time we should switch. I can't film, I'm the star!
I mean, I know I'm his mom, but somewhere in there is a really neat person. It's just been hidden for a long while.
If I could talk to Jake again, I guess I really wouldn't want him to talk at all.
I just want you to be happy. I really do.
I don't know. I'd love to know what he'd have to say to me. I wouldn't believe it, but...
Taking time and slowly turning around. For all the thought you put into my gift, I wonder how deep you believe I am. Step back, you are. How deep that you it's take it
There's so many layers of loss in our lives to even begin to talk about them. In less than 10 months, I lost my husband. I lost my children. I literally lost my home. We all lived here last Christmas, and less than a year later, no one lives here. It's all gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. That life is gone.